So we're back in Mayhem. It's only been a little bit since the whole Heretics End invasion thing happened. To recap, I repelled the Terrans from Heretics End using the overpowered EMP blast. And then I did a small counterattack on the Boon to weaken one of their battle groups. But now I have to be prepared for the OCV, who are attacking Scale Plate Green in about 10 in-game minutes. And I think they're coming from the southwest or the southeast, so my cluster of weapons platforms that are near the north gate aren't going to be doing much to help in this fight. The reason they're at the north gate is because the pirate home sector, Void of Opportunity, is right here next to BTNI headquarters, and they constantly send these pirate fleets down, so these weapon platforms have been very instrumental in automatically dealing with that. And to help, my MLCC fleet is awaiting orders, and they are docked this time, unlike last time where they were still returning from various engagements, so they weren't exactly ready to deploy because I was caught off guard. It is going to be quite awkward though, because I have a Starliner dock in this sector, and if you've ever tried to rally MLCC into the same sector that their home base is in, well, it's just very awkward. So all of these ships are probably not going to be able to get into the fight in time. But this is only one of 3 Starliner docks I have running. I have a fully staffed one here in the Xenon sector to the south. Let's see, I have a bunch of ships here, mostly M7s, unfortunately. And then in Nyana's hideout, I also have a MLCC dock that has the 3 M2s I had last time that I didn't have time to put into the fleet. Now they're fully integrated into MLCC. And this giant cluster I have here is all of my Verdandies, the template outfitted Verdandies that I have in my reserve dock right here in V Gamma. I hate how you have to use an MLCC dock for this, but I suppose I could have just used the Sanctuary as a reserve hangar for MLCC. That would have made more sense. You can't just build a trade station like you can in Liquid's universe. So anyway, all these ships have the MLCC naming convention, but they're obviously not being used with MLCC yet. They don't have a carrier, so I've been sending them over to Scale Plate Green preemptively to get information and help out. I believe I have 70-ish something of them total. And what I'm doing right now is, in Nyana's hideout, I have, well, they used to be making Poltergeist missiles. I guess I switched it to Wasp missiles a while back. At my regular shipyard, I have all the Poltergeist missiles. They're on their way to resupply. So 3,000 Poltergeists. Let's see, Nyana's hideout. Let's see if my TS can get there before the fighter swarm and drop off all the missiles. Didn't make it in time. Oh well. I will get all these ships to have Poltergeist missiles, and therefore they will be more effective in the coming fight with the OCV. Let's see, our TS, Poltergeist missiles. Let's see, what time is it on the clock? All right, we have about 7 in-game minutes until the OCV invasion. Let's return this guy home. And then Nyana's hideout, all the landed ships. Let's see, any dock agents. Let's see, because there is, let's just broadcast. Let's tell them to dock here. So they all undock. Now that they are all undocked, broadcast all M3s, dock at Nyana's hideout. And therefore, they'll all have their Poltergeist missiles. So, gotta be careful with CETA. OCV are coming. Let's see. Freight Bay, Poltergeist missile. They all have missile fire chance of 40%. It's pretty decent. So, let's get all these ships into Scale Plate Green. And we will go from there. So, MLCC is ready. Let's see. My salvage fleet and my carrier group, they are also ready. They're all docked at sanctuaries, ready to jump in at a moment's notice. And I think those are the major preparations I need to be making. Let's see. Here comes the fighter swarm. Let's see, research just got completed. Let's assign something else. I've been researching all of the marine upgrades, and this is actually quite late into the game, as you can tell by looking at this. But I think it's time I need to start researching some more ships over here. I have high-yield hammerhead missiles, and I need something to be able to shoot them. And I know M3s can shoot them, but what I need to do is find an M4 that can use hammerhead missiles. I guess I can check the ship compendium for that, but I'll do that after I deal with the OCV invasion. Let's see, there's a giant fighter swarm here. I guess some of them had energy cells. That's interesting because the template doesn't call for that. Auto jump, field resupply 5. Interesting. The template doesn't call for that. Field resupply is 0. So I don't know how they got set to 5. I'll have to look into that. But yes, the template does need to be updated, and they all need to have a jump drive, so I can use them as a rapid response defense force within my own sectors without having to deal with a carrier, because I'm short on carriers right now. Typically, I would just manufacture a whole bunch of Talati Terms. Those are M7s that are extremely cheap, and they carry, I think, 25 fighters, which is even more than the Xenon J. And there is the telltale sound of death. So, funny thing about Mayhem's OCV is that they always start out in this super far off corner of the sector. Let's see, M3 ships, protect me, set my formation to shield, that's my favorite. But Mayhem's OCV always starts off in the super far corner of the sector. And what they do is they attack random stations. I don't know if they're running the Fleet Invade Sector command or if they're doing attack all. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but their tactics are quite terrible, actually, because all of their ship classes go at different speeds. Their fighters are going to trickle into my blender of ships first, get destroyed. Their PXs, the M6s, are going to follow suit, and then the slower capital ships are going to be unescorted. So the OCV will just trickle itself into oblivion, and they won't be able to support each other. So unlike Lickcube's universe, where the OCV have this huge defense fleet in their sectors that you have to fight you have to fight all at once. And they don't have stations to shoot at. So here, even once they do spread out, they're going to spread themselves completely thin and attack all of the stations. So the OCV is really quite a joke in Mayhem, to be honest, compared to Lickcube's universe, where they're all sitting there in a giant cluster and they all attack you at once. And you're the only thing for them to fight. Here, you can just, let them attack your stations. They don't stand a chance of actually destroying the stations, and then you just mop them up. And they've all spread themselves thin. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and meet them out in the field before that can happen. So let's call corvettes. Corvettes can spread out and go ahead and start attacking. Let's see, more fighters have come into the sector. So I'm honestly not too worried about the OCV right now. And they've actually been nerfed down to Mayhem stats as well, so they're not as ridiculous as they are in Lickcube as well. So looks like we have our corvettes down there. Let's give them the command. Looks like our Verdandis are shooting at the passing fighters overhead. And that's another thing about the OCV and Mayhem. They kind of ignore your fleet, and they're so fast they outclass everything you have. So as you try to meet them out in the middle and intercept them before they get to you, they're just going to fly right past your fleet and start harassing your stations, and you're going to have to spread out and go attack them. And they don't really offer any threat to you, and they're more of a nuisance more than anything. I mean, you have to deal with them obviously, or else your stations are going to get destroyed. And these Verdandis are quite excellent in a swarm like this. They're basically acting like an M6 swarm because they all have those electromagnetic plasma cannon turrets on the front and back. So they're quite effective. Alright, I need to call in the main fleet now to meet the OCV threat. All the M7s and M2s. Oh, I missed it. It's always a cool sight when all of the ships undock from a Starliner dock at once. They all just poof outwards. Are they seriously going to fly to me? Yeah, I don't think they're going to use their jump drives. I'm not sure. I don't normally summon in the same sector. But the main fleet's here. So we can proceed with the attack. And let's send the... lost my mouse and all the lag. Let's send all of the Verdandis to attack all enemies, so they can spread out and start dealing with the threats, trying to catch them before they make it past like this. As you can see, these 3 pesky little fighters are drawing off my entire Corvette force, which is quite embarrassing. Okay, it looks like my stragglers that are home based in this sector are finally jumping in around me. Down there is the K from the last episode that I was flying around for a bit. It's now in the MLCC system. And it looks like all of those fighters have decided that the tiny fighters suiciding into the weapons platforms are more important than the actual OCV fleet. So let's tell them to manually attack. So the cap invasions, the purple ships with the lasers that attack you when you have too many mining ships, which is actually, you have to farm them for the video in Mayhem as well. They have the same problem as the OCV. They spawn super far down in the sector, and then they all go at different speeds to get to your mining ships, and it's just a game of, you know, it's the same problem as the OCV. They spread themselves out, they don't support each other, and they just don't really offer a challenge. So what I've done with them is I've made all of their ships go the same speed, so their fleet stays completely together, and you have to fight them all at once. But I haven't messed with the OCV stats in Mayhem because they don't nearly appear as often, even on OCV Hunter. So I just typically come and clean them up. There's not really any real danger here. In fact, I don't even have my full fleet. This is just the my MLCC forces, my main salvage fleet of about 50 ships, and my carrier group are not present in this fight. And the only things that really got past are a PX, which is being cleaned up by the Verdandis. Let's see. Tackle. Wait a minute. What did I just do? Tackle enemies. The Verdandis are definitely going to go clean up that PX. We have an R here, which it would probably take out all of these Verdandis that are closing in on it if it would just shoot back. I'm not sure why it's not really shooting back. Oh, there we go. It just has a single photon pulse cannon turret, and that's not really going to do anything. Hey, poltergeist missiles. I'm glad one of those Verdandis is using the missiles. Oh, that is a swarm of fighters. Kind of neat looking at them all crossing the sector like this, fighter thruster trails. The thruster trails do have a performance impact on the game, but it's not really that bad for me, so I always love to leave them on. Although else you can't really see the ships. Now I know poltergeist missiles aren't the right things to be using on a capital ship, but that's what this template was outfitted with, and they were all I had at the moment. And there goes the R. The PX is next. It's already got its shield stripped. And it will be easy pickings for the Deca down there, because those things are quite an easy target as well. They're so big that all of the capital ships can hit them from a distance. So the OCV, they're not very scary in Mayhem, unless you're very irresponsible with how quickly you expand and gain threat, which I certainly wasn't this game. So let's see, what is my actual threat level? Let's see, let's watch the Deca. I've got the pesky fighter, of course. The giant ship from Terran conflict. We've got my fleet closing in on it. Xenon K leading the charge. Let's see, what is my actual threat level? Because clearly the OCV is not nearly powerful enough. Let's see, I don't actually know where you see it. Let's see, stand by. I have to look up where my threat level is. Alright, 15. Threat level of 15. I was hoping that the OCV would start bringing, you know, maybe 3 or 4 T's and V's, the giant capital ships, but at threat level 15, they're still not really bringing anything that's even a threat. The scaled down Terran invasion was a much more difficult challenge than this, and that one was still trivial. So that's why I felt the need to declare war on 5 factions at once and have a raging borders with, let's see, like 3 different factions over here. because the OCV simply does not offer any challenge. So I think what I'm going to do is next time I play Mayhem, I'm going to go into those config files and completely buff the heck out of the OCV and make them ridiculous. I think I'm also going to go into the game files themselves and completely overhaul their stats to take them back to their lit cube levels of glory and overpoweredness. Alright, let's rally all the Verdandis. Let's see. Let's protect the Xenon K. I think it's this one.
Attention, one of your ships is under attack. Spires of illusion.
Got some random pirates. Spires of Illusion. Thankfully, though, my regular fleet is still available.
Attention, one of your ships is
Yeah.
Nathan's voyage.
We'll dispatch I'm dispatching ships right now to go deal with them. Something I like about the fleet system, and I suppose MLCC as well, is that they're not locked into these systems. You can just command the ships to do whatever you need at any time. Let's see, is that thing gonna launch fighters? Oh, it did launch fighters. Okay, we will tell all the Verdandis. Let's see, broadcast ships, attack all enemies. They should attack the fighters because those are the nearest things. Probably need to retreat this K. I didn't realize that thing had point singularities. Those are among one of the most powerful weapons. We'll just send the Xenon K to a nearby sanctuary while the rest of the fleet can come in. Looks like those are the M3 OCV fighters. The rest of my fleet is slowly closing the distance. Let's see, looks like my ship has arrived too. Looks like Spires of Illusion is taken care of. My ships aren't even taking shield damage. I think another thing was under attack in Nathan's voyage. It's just the this obnoxious traffic lane that the Argon are passing through that I've still yet to deal with. As you can see, this orbital weapons platform over here has been quite busy. But yeah, this is actually extremely disappointing. The OCV always have been, ever since the first invasion. But I don't think they need to be changed for Mayhem. I think I just need to change them myself for my personal playstyle. Because when I was first starting Mayhem, back when robustness was still a thing, back when food diversity was still a thing, a long time ago, I remember my first runs were always game over due to the OCV. But now that I know what I'm doing, they're just a complete joke. So I think they should stay as is for now. But they shouldn't be. I don't think they need to be ridiculously boosted in power. All right, this deck is a lot more powerful than I remember. I don't remember them having point singularities. And there's that Mayhem hull strength in action again, going down extremely quickly compared to the shields. And that is what an OCV invasion looks like in Mayhem at threat level 15. So if you're worried about expanding too much, I mean, this is a pretty good, you can use this to gauge how big the OCV fleet will be. At threat level 15, there aren't even any M2s yet. And in Lit Cube, the OCV-T and the OCV-V were absolute behemoths. They would take at least 5 or 6 of your own M2s in order to destroy, but I'm not sure how they are in Mayhem. They're probably a little weaker. But yeah, anyway, the OCV in Mayhem is really nothing to fear. Oh shoot, we've got one little fighter. Alright, let's send all of our ships to go attack that poor guy. At least this time I won't use a silicon mine, because it's only one little fighter. And another thing with the OCV is that they're not even using their Kion emitters. And I know the Kion emitters are still in the game because the fighter I started with, here's the original O I started with. It's got the Kion emitters, and they're just as powerful, you know, overpowered as they were in LitCube. They're like the best guns in their classes. But the OCV doesn't use them. That Deca was using Terran capital weapons. This guy's using electromagnetic plasma cannons. So not only are the OCV kind of a joke, they don't even use their signature weapons that have their overpowered stats. They still seem to have their overpowered speed stat, which is more of a nuisance than anything. If anything, they should be given escort commands or something. I don't know. People wanted to see what a Mayhem OCV invasion looked like, and to be honest, there's not really much going on. What'll be really exciting is when I decide to go attack Mercury or some other Terran sectors and fight all the battle groups. That is where the mega, huge fleet battles are in Mayhem. When you're fighting the actual races themselves. Let's see, where's the enemy? How is he still at full shields? Haven't hit him once. 100% shields. The missiles are gonna do it. Alright, and that's about it. That's what the OCV is in Mayhem. I mean, they're not nearly at the levels they were in LitCube's universe, but they are a threat that you're forced to deal with, that they only attack you, the player. So I guess that's, that can be troublesome for some players who are very opposed to confrontation and play these games completely peacefully. But for someone like me who is well versed in the fleet combat mechanics with MLCC and Mayhem's phenomenal fleet system, there's really just no point to the OCV other than it just takes up some time in the game you could be spending setting up extra sanctuaries. But that's the OCV invasion for those who wanted to see it.